Hello, beautiful people. It is I, your friend Jen. And while I do wish that we were getting together on better circumstances, I'm happy that you're here. But of course, we have to have a greater conversation, and that is surviving the healthcare system as a Black woman. So yesterday at 1:30 p.m., I was scheduled to meet with an OBGYN for the first time. Well, a new OBGYN, not my first time going to one. And where was I instead? I was sitting on my couch eating an acai bowl, reading about the untimely passing of OG YouTuber, pioneer in the hair, fashion, beauty industry, Jessica Pway. Devastated is the first word that comes to mind, like devastated. I did not know her personally, but I invited her into my home. Every time I consumed her content, I was just in love with how magical she was. Like, if you know, you know. Like, just watching her like transform a wig or taking a synthetic wig and making it look like it was a bundle that cost like $100,000. Like, her magic and her talent was just remarkable. I saw myself in her when I would see her videos with her daughter, and she was just a beautiful soul. She had a beautiful family, and she was a few years younger than me, and she recently passed of cervical cancer. So when I tell you, that really hit home for me, seeing the passing and seeing that she was misdiagnosed, I knew that this was a topic that I could not ignore any longer. And for a very long time, I've been intimidated to sit down and talk about this topic because, let's face it, I don't have all of the facts. When you look at the data, you look at the statistics, it's overwhelming. And it's almost like, okay, I don't know where to start or how to approach this topic. So I'm not in the medical industry. I'm not a researcher. I can't throw a million facts at you, but what I can do is talk to you as a Black woman who is surviving or who is in the healthcare system. You know, I have to deal with medical professionals. I don't have to. Let me take that back. I have elected, very apprehensive is the word that I was looking for. So again, I'm coming to you from the perspective of a Black woman who does have an autoimmune illness, has suffered with migraines for over 20 years. So there is a level of trust or reliance that I've put into the healthcare system in the medical industry. But again, I'm very cautious and I'm very apprehensive. So while I'm not in the medical field, I can't talk to you about experiences, you know, as a nurse, as a doctor. While I'm not a researcher and I can't, you know, provide all of these facts or evidence that I have, I can speak to you as a Black woman. Because I am a Black woman, I will not be speaking about any other ethnic groups or races or anything, because obviously, again, I'm a Black woman, but let's face it, we are the least heard. We're the least heard. It's proven information. Again, I will provide context and information, you know, in the description box. I will continue to update the description box. Even long after this video has been posted, I'll continue to update it because I really do want this to be a resource for people, just to come and learn. So going back to the beginning of what I said, the reason that I know exactly where I was is because I just find it so ironic that like 12 hours prior to me finding out the passing of this beautiful woman, I was having a conversation with my husband about how frustrated I was that I had taken the time to do my research to finally say, I'm going to build a Black medical care team. I need to find a Black gynecologist. I did my research. This person came, highly recommended. I was very excited. I prepared for weeks to meet with her. I get my appointment notification and there's a different name listed. And I'm like, this can't be, that's not the doctor that I requested. So I call and I'm like, listen, my appointment is tomorrow. Is there any way that this doctor is available? No, she's booked out. I would have to wait a few weeks. Well, now I'm put in this position where I do have some concerns that I want to talk to a gynecologist about. You know, I want to have a dedicated gynecologist because for years I had just been kind of getting pap smears from my primary doctor. I want to have a designated gynecologist that looks like me that I can go to and have a relationship with. So now I'm in the position where I can wait weeks and meet with this person that I originally requested. or I can just see this random person and hope that in my next appointment, I can meet with that doctor that I requested. So long story short, I did end up canceling the appointment, which is why I was on my couch and not at the doctor's office. But it really just goes to show, like, it reaffirmed my decision, because the importance of having a medical care team that advocates for you, that understands your needs, that is empathetic, it's more than a necessity as a Black woman. And it reaffirmed my decision to meet with someone that looks like me, because statistically, Black women are overlooked, are not listened to. There was one point in time where they thought that Black women could not experience pain or had a higher tolerance for pain. I have no idea who or how that evidence was substantiated. Obviously, it doesn't make sense at all. But that affirmed my decision to build a team of people that looks like me, that could relate to me, that could hear me and understand me, and not dismiss my needs. So it really hit home for me when I was just having that conversation, and then 12 hours later, I'm hit with the information that another Black woman has lost her life because of a medical misdiagnosis. And of course, I'm not there. I don't know her personally. I don't know how this came about. I don't know what her medical team looked like, but I can tell you that this is not uncommon. This is not uncommon in the Black community at all. Okay, hopefully the quality of the video isn't sacrificed too much, but I had to switch to my camera because I'm using my phone to read off some notes. But I want to read this information to you. And again, I'm going to have lots of resources in the description. But I'm currently reading an article that was posted on endofound.org. I'm going to jump right in. It says, diving into the numbers, a troubling pattern emerges. Maternal mortality and injury rates are higher for Black females, irrespective of income or education level. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications than white women. Black women are also 3 to 4 times more likely to suffer from a severe disability resulting from childbirth than white women. Black women experience disparities in infertility rates, stigmatization, and access to fertility care. Infertility affects at least 12% of women of childbearing age, and studies suggest this number doubles for Black women in the U.S. However, while more than 20% of Black women may experience infertility, only 8% of them seek medical help to get pregnant, compared to 15% of white women. Health conditions that disproportionately impact Black women, such as uterine fibroids, receive very little government funding. Estimates reveal that nearly a quarter of Black women between the ages of 18 and 30 have fibroids, compared with 7% of white women. By age 35, that number increases to 60%. However, NIH annual funding for the condition is $17 million, compared to $86 million for cystic fibrosis, which impacts far fewer people each year, though that great majority of those impacted are Caucasian. Black women are underrepresented in clinical trials that require consent and overrepresented in studies that do not. That is a very powerful statement. While all women may be underrepresented in clinical research and trials for new drugs, this situation is even more critical for Black women. In fact, Black women, who, as we mentioned, are disproportionately impacted by uterine fibroids, only comprise 15% of participants in published clinical trials for the condition. In addition, data from the FDA shows that in the trials for 24 of 31 cancer drugs approved since 2015, fewer than 5% of the participants were Black. This diversity in study patients is needed to ensure that new drugs are both safe and effective for all patients. Unfortunately, in contrast, Black participants are disproportionately overrepresented in studies that do not require consent. Black women are significantly underrepresented in key biomedical research data sets, including genomic data repositories and related analysis. Nearly 80% of all individuals included in genomic studies are of European descent. While this may be a decrease from 20 years ago, when it was as high as 96%, This change is mostly driven by a higher number of studies being done in Asia on populations of Asian ancestry. The increase in participants of African ancestry has barely shifted in the last 2 decades. Taken together, the picture is clear. The disparities we see in women's health funding, research, delivery, innovation, data collection, and outcomes are consistently amplified multifold for women of color. As we reflect on policy changes that could have outsized impact on addressing centuries of racial inequality in the US, we can think of no better place to start than with improving the health of Black women. I'm gonna link this article in the description. If you're watching this video and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. How are there disparities in healthcare? What does that look like? Glad you asked. So some examples, just a few, aside from the information that I just shared. Black women being mistreated, being misdiagnosed, their concerns not taken seriously or they're not being listened to. Whether it's they're coming in for a specific concern and the doctors are just dismissing them. Oh, you're fine. Not running the proper tests like CAT scans or MRIs to really diagnose or see if there's a bigger issue. When I talked about my MS diagnosis, I did mention how grateful I was that my primary doctor actually listened to my concerns and didn't just dismiss me and give me like a muscle relaxant. Now, my primary doctor is not Black. She doesn't look like me. But I did think it was very important to mention that because so often I have been dismissed. I've had a history of migraines for over 20 years. And for years, people would just, I've been hospitalized for my migraines. And I would just be given, really strong painkillers or Benadryl or some weird cocktail to make me feel better. It took years. I just received a diagnosis. It took years and me having the proper medical team before someone took my concerns seriously and, dug a little further and was like, let's get a CAT scan, or not a CAT scan, let's get an MRI for you. Let's get an MRI with imaging. Let's look at your brain. Let's look at your spine. Let's see what's going on. Connect everything together because clearly you're telling us there's a problem and we're going to believe you and figure out what it is. But again, I mentioned that in the video because it is not uncommon for there to be a concern and for that concern to be dismissed or misdiagnosed. I remember probably a little over a year ago, I went to urgent care. I had been trying to treat myself at home. I finally got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm so uncomfortable. I just need to get this resolved. I'm not just gonna drink cranberry juice. I'm not just gonna take, what is the medication? Azo, or I'm not gonna self-treat. I have to get some type of antibiotic. So I went to urgent care. I wasn't able to get into my doctor. And, I'm going over my symptoms and I'm speaking to the woman. I'm saying, hey, there was a point where I was getting frequent urinary tract infections. I didn't realize that common UTIs or bladder issues could be a side effect of MS. So I'm speaking to her and I'm like, I know exactly what this is. I really just need medication for a urinary tract infection. She's like, that actually sounds like a sexually transmitted illness or a sexually transmitted infection. And I'm like, I'm sorry? I just told you I'm married. I've been in a monogamous relationship for like 12 years. I actually don't have an STD. I'm telling you that I have a urinary tract infection and I just need medication. Oh yeah, that's fine, but let's get you tested for this just in case because I'm really leaning towards that. I'm sorry? Listen to Black women. So of course, she does her examination or whatever. She sends something off that she needs to send off. Well, the results come back. I don't have an STD. I don't have an STI. I have a urinary tract infection. Perfect example of how Black women are dismissed, not listened to, not taken seriously. Or now in this instance, you're implying that we're dealing with something that is not even relevant to my situation here because you see me, you see I'm a Black woman and you're going off of some type of stereotype. Let that sink in. So what do we do from here? The article that I shared does have some recommendations or, an action plan on what they think could help bridge the gap between Black women receiving proper health care and just being seen and treated as humans. And while I think that's amazing, we still have work to do on our end. So this is what I've been doing as a Black woman to survive the healthcare system. So number one, I'm always going to preach advocating for yourself. I share that in every single video relevant to my health that I post. Advocate for yourself. And what that looks like is not just trusting the word of someone because they have a degree and because they went to medical school. Because at the end of the day, people are people. You don't know their intentions. You don't know what they do in their free time. This doctor could have snorted up in the bathroom and then came into the room with you to try to diagnose you. And I'm not telling you that to scare you, but we have to advocate for ourselves because no one knows you the way you do. So you have to speak up if something is bothering you, if there's a concern, if you don't understand something. When I was younger, I would just, kind of go to the doctor and they would talk their doctor jargon and I'd be like, okay. And then I'd just go home and research. No, if I don't ask something or if I don't understand something, I'm going to ask you about it. And what really changed that for me was having children, because I don't play about my kids. So if you're telling me something, if I'm coming in, with a concern about my child and you're giving me information that I don't understand, I need you to break that down. I need to leave with no questions. I need to fully understand what is happening and what you're telling me. So keep that same energy or keep that same mindset when it comes to yourself. Advocate for yourself. Speak up. Do your research. It is so important. Prepare before you go to a doctor's office or prepare before you go to an appointment, because the worst thing that you can do is just sit there and just kind of let them dictate the way things are going to go if you have concerns that are not being met. So please, please advocate for yourself. The second thing that I have had to learn to do is really build my support team. So what does that look like? Aside from the support system that I have at home with my husband, building a support team to me means building a medical team that, again, will hear you, will understand you, not dismiss you, and really advocate for you as well. So again, I'm always going to go back to the example of my primary care. When I initially went to her, and this was a new doctor, I hadn't even been established with her for 2 years, but she was mindful enough and professional enough to actually listen to me as a patient and say, that electric shock that you're feeling in your side should not be happening. Let's see what's going on there. Anyone else could have just thrown a muscle relaxer at me or could have just said, oh, just make sure you're exercising and drinking your water and you'll be fine. Come back in a few weeks and see me if it doesn't get any better. She listened to me. And that is why it is so important to have a team, build a team of professionals that are going to be there with you. They are the ones in the trenches with you, and they should be the ones lifting you up. We're gonna get through this. We're going to listen and we're going to help you feel better. It is very important to have a good support team. If your goal is to have an all-Black medical team, or really just a medical team that you trust, I really, really encourage you to do your research. Utilize resources like ZocDoc or Google reviews or just kind of word of mouth. People that you trust, ask friends, ask family who their medical professionals are. My saving grace has been ZocDoc. I live in a city that's away from my family, so I really just kind of started building my team based off of reviews on ZocDoc. I also like ZocDoc because I can see what they look like. And again, for me, it's important to have someone that looks like me, which is why it's great because they have the pictures of the doctor there. I pray that when you're watching this video that hasn't changed, that is something that has been very, very helpful for me in my journey to build a team that I trust. And of course, you can't always go off of reviews or experiences from other people. Sometimes people pay for reviews. So you really do just at some point just have to put yourself out there and just try, visit this optometrist, visit this gynecologist, visit this primary doctor, and, go a few times before you make your decision on, okay, this is who I'm committing to. But at some point you do have to test them out to see if they're the doctor for you. And luckily, I'm slowly building. Like right now, I have my eye doctor for myself and my children. They're not Black, but I trust them fully. That's one thing that I can say. I don't need to look for an eye doctor anytime soon. I am over the moon in love with my eye doctor, and that's one less thing that I have to look for. I cross that off my list. Don't have to look for an eye doctor. A gynecologist, hopefully. I rescheduled my appointment, so hopefully I love her as much as everyone else has, the reviews that I've been reading, and that's one less medical professional that I have to look at. So I really want you to just do your research, have faith, and really just put yourself out there. Try to visit these doctors and form your opinion from there. But hopefully you're able to build a team that you can start to trust and build relationships with. That's going to be very, very helpful. The last thing that I will say is, now you've done the work, you've done the research, you've visited these medical professionals, and you found someone that you really like. Share your experiences, write reviews. You want to put people in the position to where they can find quality care. They can find Black doctors that they like as well. And we're only helping feed the ecosystem. Of course, don't share any medical information, any of your personal medical information. That's private, that's protected, that's on you. But if you went to the doctor and their staff was super friendly, the doctor had great bedside manner, they were professional, they were friendly, they were on time, they're trustworthy, you really like going to this doctor, share those reviews, because it's going to help someone else, number one. And number two, the hope here is that with all of these positive reviews and feedback, this is really keeping the doctors in business, because a doctor can't be a doctor if they don't have patients, right? So share your experiences, post your reviews, and help someone else, because it really does feed the ecosystem. And we need to have an ecosystem of Black doctors, because it's scarce. It is so scarce out there. That actually brings me to another point that I wanted to make here is, a lot of times, especially with the younger generation, they're consuming information on social media. If you're sharing on social media, just keep in mind, these platforms are not always designed for people that look like us. And I know that's a harsh reality and it's shitty to hear, but it's not designed for people that look like us. So there may be times where your content is reported or it's muted. I had a video on TikTok. I'm actually really upset about it. Of all of the content that I post, like makeup and random dancing videos or whatever, this was one of my proudest videos that I posted, because it was just me sitting in a car ranting about how frustrating it is trying to find a medical team, you know, of Black doctors in Tampa. I was like, I need a Black gynecologist, a Black dermatologist, a Black this, a Black that. If you have anyone, like, please comment below, because we need to help each other. And it took off, and I was getting a lot of comments and recommendations, and it was just beautiful to see, because it was people helping each other. They're like, oh, this is a Black dermatologist in Tampa. This is a Black dentist in Riverview. This is a Black dermatologist in St. Pete. And it was so cool to see the power of the internet, but the power of people just getting together for the greater good to help, because there's a need. There really is a need. And it wasn't even just Black people. It was people just coming together. One of my good friends, just so happens her mental health professional is Black, and she was like, oh yeah, let me give you her information. It was so helpful, and my video got muted. TikTok muted my video, and I've contacted them and I've asked them, hey, like, there's no music playing in this video. Why is this muted? Like, please unmute my video, because this message needs to be heard. That was a lesson for me that, number one, when you film content, make sure you film it on your device, on your camera, on your phone, so that you own it. I actually just filmed that directly in the TikTok app, so I don't have the ability to go back and upload the video. Again, that was a lesson for me, but it's just really infuriating, because here I am sharing information that's helping people, and it's being seen, and it's really making a difference, and it was muted. It was muted. So now, and of course there was no captions. They won't allow me to put captions on the video. So it's still pinned in my, like, one of my favorites as TikTok. Like, if you go to my profile, it's the top video of me sitting in a car with sunglasses on. You can't hear what I'm saying, but If you look at that video, go to the comments because you're going to see a long list of recommendations. You'll see a post from me that's like, hey guys, this video was muted. I don't have an explanation as to why, but keep sharing doctors. So I really just say all that to say, if you're sharing information, make sure that you own the content, but also don't get discouraged because there are a lot of people, there are a lot of platforms, there are a lot of algorithms that don't want this information shared. They really don't. They don't want the helpful information shared because what's going to be more popular? A video of someone putting chocolate on strawberries that's going to get 59 million views. That's going to be more entertaining. That's going to get more traction than a video of me saying, hey, if you have any Black doctors or any recommendations for Black medical professionals in Florida, please list it below to help each other. And that's what's sad. But again, I don't want you to let that discourage you. Keep sharing. Own the content that you have, whether you have a blog or you have a website that you own, put the information there. If you're putting it on a platform and you find that it's not being seen or it's not being getting the engagement that you want it to get, don't get discouraged. There's probably a reason for that. But keep sharing. Keep sharing your stories and your experiences because you are helping someone. That was a mouthful. I would love to use this video as a replacement of what I was trying to do on TikTok. So if you have any Black doctors or any Black medical care professionals in your area that you really recommend, please comment below because it is going to help someone. Again, I'm really sad that I have to sit here and have this conversation with you, but I would love to hear your input. You don't necessarily have to have that conversation because we know it's happening. But if you have any recommendations, if you have any tips on any other ways that we can advocate for ourselves or advocate for each other, if you have any doctor recommendations, leave them below. I really want to build a team that I can trust, that's going to look out for me, look out for my children, look out for my husband, look out for my mom, look out for my sister, my family, look out for you. And if you have just any information that you can contribute to this conversation, that would be very beneficial for someone else. So I know I've been talking your ear off, but this is just a topic that's very important to me as a Black woman, as a Black woman that has a Black daughter, as a Black woman that has a Black son, a Black husband, a Black family. And this is a fight that I'm never going to stop fighting because I'm a person. And my pain is real. My struggles, my concerns, it's all real. And it's going to be heard. Thank you for coming to spend time with me today. I look forward to catching up with you in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.